Welcome to episode number 22. I'm your host, Sebastian ENGSTROM. And today, Jesse Todisco joins us. He's making a comeback. So we speak about psychedelic journeys that he's had in Peru as well as Mexico, deep insights, and really like some of the big questions that he's been asking himself and what he can do and contribute with in this world. We go into that, and I'm sure you're going to love everything that we go into. So enjoy.
How much weight have you taken off since I've last seen you?
I hope none. I'm trying to lose weight. Shit.
You look thinner in the face.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder why. Maybe because I don't have a beard. I've been going on and off with a beard, but I don't think I had a beard last time we spoke.
No, you look the same, like with hair on your head and your face. You're like your face looks a little bit more thinner, like maybe you lost a few pounds, but maybe you didn't. Maybe you just look better. I don't know.
I have no clue. All right. Interesting observation. It's one of, I had a very fast metabolism, so I never really per se gain fat. It's more I get skinnier.
Yeah,
it's strange like that, but
so like keeping on muscle or heavy, like thickness is it harder for you?
Yeah, as we're recording, we might as well get into this because this is an interesting part. So the nervous system stores a lot of stuff, and there is a book, The Body Keeps the Score is one, and then there is one, What Happened to You, by what's her name? Her name is Oprah. And then there's a doctor. I can't remember the doctor's name, but both of them, and it's very prevalent right now, that anything that happens to you regarding trauma, trauma happens to all of us. Anything that made you more or less feel uncomfortable, that's very simplistically said, but something that left a trace in your body. And sometimes you don't even realize this. For me, that was abandonment to a degree, and not feeling worthy enough. And there is a deep patterning in my body from my parents fighting when I was 2. And that's a realization I've come to lately too, that I'm trying to recreate a chaotic environment because I feel that is what I associate with love, because there was a lot of yelling. It was always chaotic. And therefore I'm trying to recreate that because I think that is love, which is, might sound nuts, but if you start going deeper into your journey, then that might be something you might realize too. So with this being said, I never felt safe. I was always on high alert. My nervous system was just strung out. I was in fight or flight, and that is what you can attribute to me having a high metabolism too, is that my body's constantly going. It doesn't relax. So hence why you might see more people who might be very fit or might be ripped. They might have some trauma around not feeling safe, and they're constantly chasing something, and they're in fight or flight. So I know that goes for me. I'm sure there's more to it, genetics and so forth, and lineage. My mom has a similar thing. But yeah, in short, that's why I don't really gain weight. If I do, I need to work out a whole lot and eat a whole lot and sleep a whole lot. And that's my life. And it used to be back in college when I played football. No more. But that in short is a short side note on your comment.
When you say football, are we talking like soccer, or are we talking real American football?
Real. If you want to say real,
I don't real, because soccer's a great sport, but like the hitting kind.
Yes, the hitting kind.
What position did you play?
Receiver, kicker, punter. So I like the flair. I played basketball. I played corner for a little bit too, but I have, let's put it like this, offending or not, the white boy grit, and but not any speed.
How'd you play receiver with no speed? Just because you kept on working, like outworking people? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. More of a slot position, more like what I'm doing damn well, but I'm not relying on my talent because there's not much of it. So I'm just going to outwork everyone. And that's why I didn't go pro, right? I mean, if you want to go pro, you need to have the talent and outwork everyone.
You got to have world-class talent plus the world-class work ethic as well. There's so many people that have God-given talent that can take them so far, but they just, what does it say? there's a cliche term that I was thinking of. Basically, like it's, you know, you need hard work. Hard work has to meet that talent, because everybody's talented at that level. Now you have to actually have the work ethic to get you through. And it's incredible, man. I know some people like, have you ever seen the movie Rudy before?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Amazing.
great movie about an underdog that wasn't even supposed to be on the field, and he finally made it. And like, he built this cult like following. And, you know, for those who haven't seen this movie, that's probably 30 years old now, but there's this guy
Classic.
that I talked to here locally for UGA, University of Georgia, and he's the local Rudy. He's the guy, his name's Candler Cook. And Candler Cook tried to walk on as a guy with zero athletic prowess, like none. And he was like 170 pounds, maybe even less. I think he was less, his freshman year. And by his senior year, he finally like had put in enough work, and he was eating like 10 times a day. He scheduled his college classes around his feeding schedule so that he could get enough meals in, because it was like, you know, to gain the weight he needed to. And he went from like 170 to 270 in 4 years, all natural, no steroids. And he won some like strength lifting competitions. Even think about how powerful college athletes are. He set some like lifting records and like all this crazy stuff, and it was all based on his work ethic and mentality. And he finally got in for like 2 plays at the very last game of his senior year.
No.
It was incredible.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, that is one part I did not have, is it's to stick with something. I had like, I'm initially gonna do it, and I ran myself into the ground eventually, but I didn't stick with a lot of things. And that's another, I mean, tracing it back to my childhood too, is I've moved, I don't know how many times in my life. So I'm good with, all right, I'm going to give him my darnest and I'm going to give him my all. But if it doesn't work out, on to the next thing, on to the next thing, on to the next thing. And it is the most, you say, camaraderie and trust. And it's incredibly hard for me to trust. I shaped, and it was formed during football. So that is one of the things I wish I would have stuck with, because I'd only stuck with it for a year, and I was so I wanted to be best at everything and outwork everyone. And we got a new set of coaches. They fired all the coaches, and the new coaches decided, okay, I think you're a bunch of pussies, and we're going to run you to the ground. I'm like, okay, let's do it. So we were up at 6 a.m. doing crazy sprints 4 days a week and lifting heavy. And eventually this guy was just a real, like, he was the real deal. Like, myself were waking up in the middle of the night with like PTSD, like, holy shit, I'm late. Like, I need to get to practice. And I found myself one time in the shower at 3 a.m. realizing, what the hell am I doing? And it's a cold shower. I'm like, I'm half asleep, I'm half awake, and I realized this is bad. And I shortly after, I started getting nosebleeds every single morning, because I did not have the smart approach. I had the ego approach of, every time we sprint, I'm going to beat all of you. I don't care the consequences. And eventually my body started breaking down and shutting down. And that, in the same time I was working, and my goal, and I did it, I was to complete college in 3 years instead of 4, and playing football on top of that. I was just, you might
Where'd you go to college?
A few different ones. University of Central Oklahoma is where I played football, and that's where I got my bachelor's degree from.
Hell yeah.
But
Hell yeah. What was that experience like for you? Because I know you're not from the States, and so being in Oklahoma seems like a huge difference.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, the journey started in Minnesota. Then it went to, which has the highest population of Swedes, and with ancestry as well. And then it was Missouri. Yeah. Yep. And then it was Missouri. Not where I wanted to go. I wanted to go to the south or somewhere warm, but it ended up being Missouri, and then Central Oklahoma. Big things there is family, religion, football, and big trucks. Those are the four. And then you have it made. And oil maybe is number 5, but those are the pillars there. And I think they're incredibly humble people, heart-centered people. However, there is segregation. There is a level of you stick with your kind type of mentality, which I did not necessarily enjoy. And it's not as open-minded. A lot of it is, the United States is it's God's country. Who wouldn't want to be here? There's no reason for me to leave the state. This is the greatest place on earth. I might leave Texas, but it's a love-hate relationship for anyone who is from that area knows. So that's how it was like.
Damn, brother. And you go back to the body keeps the score and just how we store trauma. I couldn't agree more, man. And it's interesting the work that people are doing these days. I feel like it's becoming more and more commonplace, where they're doing deep inner work, they're doing healing, and they're doing all this. You know, I've been on my own path, as you know, for a while, and I recently, a few weeks ago, started working on EFT tapping. Have you heard of this before?
Yeah, I do it. Yep, it's amazing.
So fuck yeah, you know exactly what it is. And you know, for people that are listening, it's working through meridian points. So just like acupuncture, where you have a needle that taps into specific energy points, which are meridian points throughout the body. This is where energy is stored, and this is where trauma can be stored, and all good feelings too, right? Good energy that was dark, all this different stuff. And I started doing this EFT tapping, but we also were doing like inner child work as well. And so working through some traumas, like, you know, my story, like I've been through a lot of crazy shit. And you know, it's giving a name, number one, to these emotions that I never did as a kid. Like growing up, I thought I had a pretty good childhood. And when I look back on it now, through all the different things I've done, from talk therapy to plant medicines to all the different shit that I'm into, I was like, there's no way I had a good childhood. My childhood was fucked up. And like, I need to like process some of these emotions that I never did. Yeah. And the EFT tapping plus the talk therapy combined with this amazing, gorgeous wizard of a human being, Nicole Leno La Barbera, I believe is how you say her last name. Nicole Leno. She's a wizard. And she's someone who does talk therapy. She does mindset stuff, but she's really, her stuff is like the energy work. And I released some stuff that had abandonment, loneliness, you know, from my childhood. And it's one of those things, if you don't do that work, it's going to reside somewhere. It's going to eke out in some sort of disease, like dis-ease, whether you're uncomfortable or you have some sort of mental stuff, or you actually create some sort of disease in your body. If you don't work on these things, you'll never be at a place where you're healed or get on your healing journey. So how did you, was it the book that you just talked about from Oprah? And was it Deepak Chopra, or was it Sanjay Gupta, one of these other people? Like, is that who did the book together? And how did you get on that journey where you started uncovering this for yourself?
Yeah. So Jung has a statement where he says, trauma or unresolved emotions will control you, and then it will rule your life, and you'll call it faith. And that's, I mean, you're speaking to it right there. So yes, that was part of it, but it's also podcast. I think that's what I really started getting my eyes open. It was Aubrey Marcus. I think someone was on his podcast and they started bringing up the nervous system, and it clicked. I haven't heard anyone speak to it like that before. I'm always been wondering, why can't I calm down or feel safe or trust? And they started talking about the nervous system. I just knew that's it. And I can't figure it out with my mind. And it's something to go deeper and surrender to. And it's something I'd like help with. Tapping is an amazing thing. As you're saying, you're connecting with meridians. For example, I'm tapping on my eyebrow, I'm tapping on the side of my head, underneath my eye, underneath my nose, on my chin. And there are a few different points, but that is surprisingly effective to bring up stuff, because I'm incredibly hard at it. I'm incredibly, like, I will not let anything in. And that is incredibly effective. But yeah, it's the body keeps the score. It's the book that got me even more open to realizing there are people who suffer massively from trauma and they don't even know how to get out of it. And I don't have anything nearly like that. So that was one. There was an amazing podcast with Oprah and Brene Brown. Brene Brown is phenomenal when it comes to any type of inner work, psychology, human behavior. So that really opened me up even more. So that's on my book list now, is to read What Happened to You, is that book with her and a doctor. I can't remember the doctor's name.
Oh yeah, brother. Damn, man. You know, what's really funny is we were just like talking probably about 25 minutes ago when we first jumped on, and we had a call set up just to kind of chit chat about some stuff. And then it just turned into like, why don't we hit record, because we were talking about some pretty cool shit. So it was
Let's get into that cool shit.
Yeah, it was interesting how we got to this point, man, because this wasn't planned, but obviously we know each other and we have an affinity for each other, and we have great conversations. So this is beautiful how it was kind of like serendipitous. It's like, all right, let's get it. So do you want to jump into like some stuff that you want to talk about, or we want to talk about?
No,
Okay.
that what we talked about 25 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I've had a hell of a year. Let me tell you about it. Let's
year. Yeah.
Let's rewind. Let us know, what has it been like?
I mean, just the cliff notes, man. I've been on this beautiful journey for the last couple of years, really intentionally, but I've been on my spiritual journey for the last, my whole life. But I've been really dialed in, and this year specifically has been very intentional in terms of travel and different places that I've been to. And in the beginning of the year, just to kind of give you some cliff notes, the short version, because this could take hours, right? It could take days. But in January, one of my closest friends and my soul brother, Lane Balone, he and I had been connecting on a bunch of different, heart-centric things, on consciousness awakening things, on leaving the world a better place kind of mentality. And we're like, how do we do this? And we started off with this men's retreat that we did back in January, and we did it in North Georgia, where I rented this lake house, beautiful, right on the water. It was January, so it was coldish, like compared to where you're from. It's not super cold in Georgia, but it's still in the 30s and 40s and maybe gets to the 50s. So it's chilly. So the water is cold, and we did some cold plunge activity. We did some qigong. We did some intention stuff. We did some meditation stuff. We worked with plant medicines. We worked with psilocybin mushrooms, and we had 6 guys there, including the 2 of us. So there's 4 other dudes, or 5 guys, sorry, 3 guys, and Lane and I. And it was just this beautiful, loving, safe space that we created for ourselves that had these modalities that we were using, from the physical, from the emotional, from the mental to the plant medicine, kind of spiritual. And once we left that weekend, we were like, we're onto something here. Like, we're going to change the world. Like, how is this going to play out? And so fast forward to March, Lane and I, with a few other people, went to Peru. And in Peru, we were in the Sacred Valley, Cusco, which is—
How did you organize that?
So what had happened was, a year prior to this journey, I was supposed to be in Peru, but that's when the pandemic kind of hit and like it shut down travel. So it was supposed to be March 2020. I was supposed to be with a guy named Stephen Kuhn, Kuhn, Lane Balone. These are both ex-military guys. I'm ex-military as well. And they have this thing called the Humble Alpha, which has this retreat they do every year called the Quality of Life. And it's in Peru. And I linked up with Stephen through a podcast. He was introduced to me by a good buddy of mine. And within the first 5 minutes of talking to Stephen, I was like, are you spiritual at all? Like, just, I had this knowing. He's like, why do you ask? And all of a sudden, by the end of that conversation, I was going to Peru with him and Lane like that year. So that led me to connecting to Lane. And then Lane and I became like intrinsically connected. Like, we are on this beautiful journey together, man. I've seen Lane and I's souls on a mushroom journey a while back. I saw our souls traveling through the cosmos together, like, and traveling through eternity together. It's nuts, right? So anyway, so jumping back to March, we're in Peru. We're there for 10 days. We're in the Sacred Valley, very powerful vortex of a place, a lot of energy, a lot of really powerful things that go on there. We're working with ayahuasca. We're working with San Pedro. We're working with Combo. We're working with a bunch of shit, really short amount of time. Had some profound insights. I don't know if I've told you about these before, but just these are kind of the thing, we can get into that another time, but just, that was another stopping point. So it was January with Lane. It was Peru in March with Lane and Steven. And then Lane and I set up another retreat in April 29th through May 2nd in North Georgia. And this was
before jumping into that, what are the cliff notes of the realizations in Peru?
So when I worked with ayahuasca, my journey was beautiful. Like, a lot of so we did a dieta leading up to it. So 2 weeks of no junk food, no sex, no alcohol. Like, we cleaned out the body. We gave it, sacredness, so that we walked, because a lot of times ayahuasca, people say that you'll get your ass kicked if you don't do that. Like, you'll purge, it'll be a rough go, and then eventually you'll have like a good journey. None of that happened. But I also think we worked with a Kero, a shaman, someone who'd been trained in this through lineages of his family. And he had a beautiful container, beautiful safe space that he created. He was playing, indigenous, instruments and songs, and he was singing. Why can't I think of the word right now? I'll think of it after, but it's a specific song they sing. And so the medicine he gave us was like a year old, so I think it was also not as strong. But anyway, it was a beautiful journey. In that journey, I was, number one, I saw the cosmos in this Caro. Like I was looking at him, it was dark in the place we were in, and I could see the outline of his body, and I saw galaxies in his being. I was given the message that I'm a healer, I'm a creator, and I'm powerful. And that's something that's resonated through the last few months and it's played into so many different things. And we can talk about how that's eked out. But that was the ayahuasca journey with some other profound. Go ahead.
Yeah, I can help you reassure that. I could have told you that before. I'm glad you got reassurance and I can help you remind you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's weird stepping into it, but I'm finally stepping into it. So it's been great. So that night was pretty cool. We're going to need more time. I'm going to have to bump Eve from 12 p.m. to a little bit later. So, you know, Lane and I at like 3 a.m. after doing ayahuasca, we want to go out. We're at the Sacred Valley. So right as soon as we walk out the door, there's like the Temple of the Moon and the Temple of San Pedro. It's like right there. It's within like 200 yards, so close. And as we're walking into these like hills where it starts to get really dark, I don't know if you've been to Peru before, but a lot of like, you know, foreign countries, even in Mexico, there's wild dogs everywhere.
Yep.
And in Peru, they're everywhere. Like there's so high concentration of wild dogs. And all of a sudden we hear barking in the background, and we're out in the open, 3 o'clock in the morning, stargazing, talking about life and all this different stuff. And all of a sudden we really hear the dogs getting close, and they get close. And all of a sudden they're like next to us, and there's 30 wild dogs standing their ground looking. Cause they're like, there's not humans out at 3 o'clock in the morning in these sacred hills. Like they're like, this is weird. And so like they come up to us and they're barking and going crazy. And it just so happened like 2 weeks prior, there was a man that was killed in Florida by wild dogs. So that's in the back of my mind. Plus I'm thinking, I watch a lot of Nature is Metal on Instagram. So like you see how crazy nature is. And I'm like, these dogs are going to like try to fuck with us. Lane and his beautiful, I call him Navajo Jesus. He's like the most beautiful, he used to be a Green Beret, which is strange, but he's like this beautiful, serene human being, all the work he's done. He gets down on one knee and he's like inviting. So he's like showing them that it's okay. And I just stand next to him in like a very stern, strong, but like not like an aggressive way. Like I'm standing my ground. So like you had like this polarity. You had a guy that was inviting, but a guy that was like not going to back down. The dogs checked us out and they left. It was like the weirdest fucking thing in the world. Then we went back to talking about the cosmos and the universe and all this different stuff. So that was ayahuasca night. We work with San Pedro. Have you heard of San Pedro before?
Yes.
Yeah. Have you done it?
No.
So San Pedro is so ayahuasca is the feminine, it's the spiritual, it's the airy, it's the opening your third eye, it's all that. San Pedro is the masculine, it's the grounding, it's the heart opening. It's like it's a beautiful opposite. Like it's like yin and yang essentially. And but it'll take you places. Like it'll give you like a psychedelic journey. It'll give you this amazing information. My biggest intention with getting to Peru was spending time with my daughter who died when she was 7 days old. And this was my intention for months. And as you get closer to doing a ceremony, your intention really like gets hyper focused and like it's really crystallized. And intention's everything and everything you do. Like if you think about people that grew up in a church like I did, like in the Catholic church, like it was all about intentions. It was praying, it was being intentional. It was like, and like there's something to that, right? And then you learn that there's definitely more than something to it. So setting intention was, I want to sit with my daughter. I want to be with my daughter. I had 7 days with her. I want to be with her again. I also wanted to be with my mom and my dad, who I've lost in the last few years. And so I really wanted to be with the most important people in my life. And I surrendered to the how. I knew I wanted to do this. So when I do San Pedro, which comes from a cactus, they cook it for like 48 hours. The cactus itself, it ekes out this kind of green slime, and you drink it. And in 20, 30 minutes, you start dropping in, you start getting kind of the euphoria, you start feeling good. It's a very grounding medicine. So you're on the ground the whole time, connected to Pachamama, to earth. And during this journey, I sat with my daughter for 2 hours. I was with her embodiment, her energy, her soul, her spirit, whatever you want to call it, for 2 hours. And it was the most profound experience, one of the most profound experiences of my life. And there was all these other beautiful things. Like there's a mountain, they call them apus. They believe the mountains have spirits, and they're like kind of, So there was this mountain that was right outside of our place we were staying. You could see it and it looked like there was a face in the mountain, and everybody could see this face without, San Pedro. But when I was on San Pedro looking at this face, I was looking at the mountain. All of a sudden, it started becoming clear to me that mountain was stood the test of time. It stood all, it's all the obstacles that ever been thrown at it from Mother Nature. It's just always remained a steadfast rock on this area. And all of a sudden, the face in the mountain turned into my face. And it was just telling me that I'm kind of similar too, with like being able to weather storms and being a rock and all this different stuff. So there was like just some symbolism. And then there was a couple other little things that I won't get into, but I also sat with my mom and my dad. I saw my ancestors in the clouds, and it wasn't like it was geometric kind of hieroglyphic stuff, but I could understand it. And it was like it was what it taught me on San Pedro was, and the biggest lesson that I could tell anyone listening to this is whenever you lose someone, whatever you believe in terms of heaven, or you don't believe in heaven, or if you believe in spirits, whatever, they never leave you. My daughter, so I kept on, my intention was to be with my daughter, be with my daughter, be with my daughter. What I learned in San Pedro taught me was that she was always with me. She's a part of me. She's in my like fabric of being. So my daughter, my mom, and my dad, even though they're not physically here, their energy, their spirit, their vibration, whatever it is with me.
I am getting the chills. I had a breathwork session in Sedona with Fit for Service, and that was deeply came through too. My grandmother, who I was very close to, and then my uncle, who passed away before her. They came as, you can say, translucent beings, and I was laying on the ground, and then that shape went into me, and then my uncle, same, and then I was flying as an angel, or I was up and they were angel and they had angel wings. And the message that came through all the time, so their German is "Wir sind dir," which means we are you. We are you.
Fuck, brother.
Yeah.
Talk about chills.
yeah. And that's why I have that in my I have affirmations, and I say that every morning. So wow. It's amazing that you're saying that too.
I'm going to take that. I'm going to take those words and use that from my experience. Like, we are you, because that's what it was. It's like, we never left. We are you. Like, that's, I'm going to fucking cry, dude. Yeah, man, that's so powerful. And so one of the fun things on San Pedro was I was a lion for an hour. and like not like walking around like meow like a fucking lion, but like not that they meow, but I was so at peace, and I was so calm, and I was so in the moment, so present. I was like, this is what a lion feels like. A lion doesn't generally have any natural predators. They're the king of the jungle or wherever they live, and wherever they are, they're just fucking lions. Like, they're just completely present. And it's like the feeling that I had was complete peace, confidence, knowing that you're not like, I'm looking around. So I'm on the ground still on San Pedro. You're on the ground for hours. I got the worst sunburn. I was fucking cracking everywhere, but like whatever. And the animals. So the animals can like, there was dogs that were with us, like the woman Leslie that owned this compound, which is gorgeous. And her sons, they help facilitate these ceremonies, specifically San Pedro, but they bring in the guy for ayahuasca. The dogs were like attached to me. Like, they were like they can feel your energy, and they're with you. And so they're playful, they're playing with me, they're hanging out, and they're just sitting by my side. And like, there was just like this presence that I was exuding. And I just, for an hour, I felt like a fucking lion. But the dark side, there was actually a really crazy part to this. So two of them, one I'll share. Because I learned afterwards, like, I went back in retrospect and looked at this, like, I had spirits with my daughter and my mom and my dad. Well, if there's light and beautiful spirits, there's also dark, malevolent spirits. Like, it's just how this shit works. It's not like, not everything is fucking honky dory. I shit you not. I just gave you the illustration about the dogs and how they were playful, and they were all on me, and they were like cuddling with me and like being, just being around my presence. It went from a beautiful, like, kind of slightly overcast, slightly cloudy, but mostly sunny day. It got dark, it got ominous, and it looked like it was going to rain. All those wild dogs that I told you about from around the neighborhood, hundreds, were all howling and barking, and just like there was a shift in energy that was more than just the weather. And all of a sudden I was just like, man, I'm just gonna go up to my room. And I left everybody that was hanging out, like they're all on San Pedro doing their thing. And, you know, I went up to the room. And as soon as I shut the door, I felt this really negative, malevolent presence. And I'm like, okay, this is terrible. So I went immediately, like, tried covering myself in white light. And I'm like, I'm powerful. I'm strong. I'm talking to myself. I'm like, I'm alive. And like, I've watched horror movies before. And it's like people that are alive have more power than spirits because they're alive. And so like, I'm telling myself this shit. And like, I'm like, but it's not getting any better. Matter of fact, it's getting worse. And I really felt like there was something hovering over the room that I was in. And literally the dogs were still barking. It was the fucking energy changed everywhere, atmospherically, personally. Like, it was just weird. I was like, I can't handle this. So like, I went out, went downstairs. I went and found Leslie. She had this woman that was working with her for like 30 years who does all sorts of energy work of her own. And they like went to work on me right away. So they, you know, like when you take, Palo Santo or you take sage and you smudge to clear the energy, they took whatever they took and they were blowing smoke on me. They had a condor feather, which is the most important animal in Peru because it's the closest to God. They had a condor feather that they were like, they just started clearing my energy. They could sense that something was going on. They went to the room and cleaned it out. And so that was the flip side to it. So it was a beautiful experience, but I did have that knowledge that once you tap into different kinds of plant medicines and you have access to spirit world, you're going to have access to all the spirits, not just the beautiful ones. So that kind of scared me a little bit. But we had another San Pedro ceremony a couple of days later, and it was equally as beautiful and had some hard stuff, but it was incredible. So
one thing that comes up with the lion, for me, it's come up as a panther running up Thunder Mountain, the same experience in Sedona. So me running besides it, then it growling at me as we're running up the mountain and trying to intimidate me, and I'm just calm. And then eventually I'm jumping on it, and then I'm becoming one. I'm becoming it, and then I roar. I run up the mountain as the panther, and I roar. And this mountain is known as to have the most crystals in the entire world, and the thunder strikes more there than anywhere in the world. And there's just thunder everywhere, and I'm roaring in my, you can say, divine masculine, just expression and power. And that's something I've had a lot of trouble with expressing in my entire life because I don't feel like I'm worthy of love. I've continued to do that. So that's why I've always been a people pleaser and not standing up for myself. And that was a true just stand. Like, I am incredibly powerful. And in the same sense, if you fuck with me, I will mess you up. But in the same time, then I laid down after that and became very approachable and like this kitten almost. Like, I am very friendly. I am quiet. I'm humble, but I have ferocity in me that I can use. So don't mess with me, and not to be taken lightly, but to understand my true power. And it's come through with a lot of these cat animals, powerful cat animals, lion as well. And it's a similar message.
Yeah.
Did anything of that, like, did you find a connection why the lion came up for you?
No, it was more the state of being is what the answer was for me. It's like the lion state of being is complete contentment, king of the jungle, protector, but very, very happy when it's in its normal state because there's nothing that can fuck with it. It's like completely, it's a lion. It knows it's a lion. It does lion things. Like, it wasn't anything too much more than that. So I will say, jumping forward to this most recent trip that I took, we'll talk about the other one in between that Lane and I did, but I learned that my spirit, potentially, I have to do a little bit more kind of tapping in this, but my spirit animal is a frog. And it's really cool. And there's like a lot of symbolism behind it. And like, I'll send you the little link that talks about like prosperity and fertileness and like all sorts of stuff. And it's like a very powerful spirit animal. And it was crazy because it was going to be the first time I ever worked with DMT, specifically just DMT, which is from the bufo frog that week. So it was like this weird symbolism that like later in the week that I was going to be working with the frog. And I've worked with the frog in the past. Like, so back in Peru, I worked with Combo, which like I have these like 5 holes burned into my arm. You can kind of see them a little bit, like right here. And it's supposed to purge you of any sickness or disease. It's not a plant medicine. It's going to take you on a journey. You're not going to get insights. You're going to throw up. It's a fire medicine. It causes you to purge. It's for purging, and you purge more than physically. You purge spiritually, emotionally, mentally. And if you do it 3 times in a lunar cycle, which is like 28 days, you can cure like any disease is what it's been said to do. So worked with that as well. But jumping back to the frog, and it made me think of that journey was I was in a tree house in Tulum, 30 feet off the ground. And one night I was visited by a frog. It was like croaking out my window. I was completely stone cold sober, like wasn't on plant medicines. And I heard this frog like croaking at like 2 a.m. and I like turned on the light, looked out the window, and he's like right there at the window, and he jumps back off the window like into the tree 30 feet. So it was like a tree frog. I was all right, that makes sense, whatever. But then like 2 days later, I'm taking a shower and 30 feet up off the ground because I'm in this tree house. The shower's outside. It's an outdoor shower, really cool, unbelievable thing. And I look down next to the shower, like just outside of where I'm standing on the railing, and there's another frog. It's a completely different frog. And I'm like, all right, I'm starting to see frog signs. Like, what the hell does this mean? And then Lane, he gives us all totems before our Bufo ceremony, and they're all frogs. And we all picked our frog. And so like, there's just like this frog narrative that kept on happening. Plus it has to do with water. And I grew up on the ocean, and like, it's my soul belongs on the water, the ocean, all these different stuff. So it's like, obviously frogs don't live on oceans, but there's just this weird symbolism. So jumping from that, so we talked about January men's trip, we talked about Peru trip, and then we did our own trip April 29th through May 2nd. And this was a co-ed thing. It was men and women. It was 16 people from all around the country, including Hawaii, flew in to do 3.5 days of work, from breath work to sound healing to ecstatic dance, which is like one of my favorites. I led that thing, and it was supposed to go for an hour. It went for 2.5 hours. It was nuts. It was beautiful. And then, we facilitated a mushroom ceremony for the other 14 people, Lane and I. And just kind of getting back to the whole context of this conversation, like it was very empowering. And I saw how much it meant for people and how much they were healed and how much I was healed in that weekend as well. And Lane and I, we didn't do any mushrooms that weekend because we were facilitating, but we did do our own journey that Wednesday coming into the weekend because we wanted to be open to the medicine. We wanted to be, any insights that we could get. And I went the deepest I ever had. I went on what's a hero's dose, which is a heroic dose, which is 5 grams or more. So I did 5. And my only intention was I asked, because when you work with plant medicines, for people who listen to this or watching this, once you set intentions, you can really call into your life things very powerfully and very immediately. And so you can do stuff relationship wise, you could do stuff healing yourself, you could do stuff business wise, you could do stuff whatever you want. You just set your intentions and it manifests, which is incredible. My one intention was to find out what my superpower was. So that journey, that's it. It was very playful, very light and easy. I've had amazing journeys since my very first one almost 2 years ago. It's been very beautiful ever since. This journey is where I saw my soul traveling through the cosmos, traveling through eternity. And it had a golden headdress. My soul had this golden headdress it was wearing. Don't know what that means. It's what I saw. I have ideas. And I also saw Lane, my brother, my business partner, friend. I saw his soul with me traveling through eternity together. And it was unbelievable. It was like, the way I can relate it is, and like I've been posting this a lot or sending this a lot, but if people know who the Silver Surfer is, Silver Surfer from Marvel Comics, and he's on his surfboard, but he's surfing through the galaxies and you can see stars and cosmos. Like, that's exactly what I saw. I felt like the Silver Surfer. Didn't know what that meant. And by the end of it, it was over and I didn't get shown what my superpower was. Just had this really cool, beautiful, wonderful experience. Fast forward from that Wednesday to Sunday, we had a gentleman named Isaac who was facilitating quantum healing for us. Have you ever done that before, quantum healing?
I'm curious to hear more about, maybe, not that I'm aware of.
So Dr. Joe Dispenza works in the quantum. People have heard of Dr. Joe Dispenza. He works in the, training your subconscious mind, being able to take this feeling and idea of something that you may want to call into reality and going into the quantum, being able to pull it into to the now. And like, he does all these meditations and all this work to be able to, I'm butchering what he does because he's the wizard. So, but basically he helps you create magic.
Yes, I've done that. And I agree.
Yeah. So what was your experience like with the stuff you did with him?
I haven't done anything in person with him, but I've done plenty of his meditations, and it's, it takes you somewhere completely different. As you're speaking to a lot of these plant medicines, you can get to those states with, for example, his meditations. And what's so unique about those, I don't know how he's been able to go so deep, but the frequency of the sound and the background music, his meditations last from 40 minutes to an hour. And I don't know, 15, 20. They're long. Like they're long. And if you're able to stick with it, and most of the guided ones the ones that are more quiet, I have more of a harder time with, but you can truly go places and see things. And my wife has more so experience than I have, but it's you can call in things. You can start having major realizations. Think of it as a meditation or a breath work, but even deeper. Like when I was at the most connected state, when I was working with this gentleman, Nikhil Kale, he took me through these journeys just by breath work, no substances. And I started doing these meditations every day for a 40-minute meditation. And I started seeing all these symbols, and it was important for me for it to be dark and for it to be quiet and for no distractions to take place. And all these symbols, for a few weeks I started doing it because I was very going into the feminine of seeing everything from hieroglyphs to ancient Egyptian symbols, statues, like toucans, different types of animals. And I'm like, what is all this stuff? And then I'll look it up, which is fascinating. I Google it after. Okay, I draw it and I write it down. I look up, what does this mean? I'm like, no fucking way. Like, this is exactly what I needed to hear, but it's in forms of symbols. And the answer, at that point, I'm like, I surrender. Like, there's a lot of infinite universal intelligence. And if I'm just trying to use my freaking head, I'm not going to get that far. And it's funny how we speak to it right now, because this is the medicine I need to hear, because I've gotten so in my head as of late. And then I just picked up my meditation practice again, because I've been prioritizing sleep, for example, instead of doing my meditations at night. And it has had a profound impact. And I'll speak to that shortly or briefly, is that my self-criticism and even to a degree, like hatred to a degree, like I'm being so incredibly hard on myself. And someone brought this up, like how we've been conditioned and being punished if we do something wrong. And even this is Aubrey Marcus too. He was saying, yeah, if you do something wrong, you would have to run suicides in basketball. And that was exactly what happened. It was just ingrained. You do something wrong, you run suicides. And that has been so deep within me that if I do something wrong, I'm trying to figure out a way to punish myself. Meditation has been one of those things that InQ says this is the gym of letting go of that shit and finding and truly intentionally focusing on how can I love myself? What does that feel like? What does it feel like when I smile or when I'm happy? And that's rare because I'm so damn hard on myself. This is we're going off a tangent.
We're
talking about quantum, but yeah.
This is exactly what we needed to happen. And I do want to ask you, what were the messages, the symbols? What were the messages that you learned?
Oh, it's quite a bit of it. Anyone who is on video, so both you and I, we're business people.
Yep.
And as I started this journey, it's about a year ago when I quit corporate, I got this this book. I've always been into stars and signs, and I'm like, no, that's wonky stuff. Like I'm a business person. I'm suit and tie, all that. So you can see like some of this are symbols, like they look like wings here.
Yep.
This is a cobra that came up. What else? I have different types of here. There's golden angel that came up.
Oh wow.
Here's a lot of stuff. So there's a green emerald. You can't see this, and this is the face of Tutankhamun. And there's what looks like the all-seeing eye. Yep. And there's a specific bird. And then what you can't see, there's a crown, and there's also a dress. So it's all representations from spiritual awakening to not the dress for my daughter was that is the most precious thing you have in your life. Where are your priorities at? This is a ship that came up. That is a Greek style ship. Or even Viking. And so there's a lot of symbolism that you might see here. One looks like an alien face.
I was gonna say, is that an alien? Yeah, E.T.
Yeah, and then there's some that are out of this world, and it makes me. And one other is taught thought. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's a lot of ancient Egyptian signs. Yeah, it's volcanoes, swords, but they all have different types of meanings. I'm not to bore people, but I'm not going to go into that for too long. But I'm curious too. Like, have you seen, like, you have stuff on you've even had tattoos that you told me about, that you've tattooed like these strange beings. You're like, I have no freaking clue what it is. Like, what has come up for you?
Man, for me and my journeys, breath work, just for people listening to this, you're 100% right. You don't need plant medicine to be able to reach these states. But if you're called to plant medicine, it is something that'll probably be on your path. But
Yeah.
breath work, different modalities, all the way to plant medicines and back, can get you to these altered states / insights.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, my insights and my journeys, specifically with plant medicines, because that's the topic I've kind of been hitting home, has been very visual. I see things, but also more than visual, I get words. They're not even spoken to me. There's not like a voice. But there's this knowing that's told to me. So like some of my insights that I've received are to speak freedom and truth through my microphone. Not just this, but like one-on-one and conversationally.
Yeah.
And be an embodiment of truth, love, and light, and speak truth and freedom through my microphone. I've experienced what was in that moment a knowing of unity consciousness, where I felt connected and I felt the love of every living thing, from humans, animals, nature, all at once. And I saw these underground tunnels connecting everything. Almost like in movies, they'll show you like when the brain's firing synapses, it almost looks like there's like a glowing thing coming from like one side to the next thing. And like, it looks like just tunnels and all this stuff. Like that's what I saw in my mind. Like, holy shit. I've experienced the God frequency. The God frequency is eternal truth, love, wisdom, and joy. It's just this state of being, I guess. And I have, like, you just pulled out your journal. I have a journal full of stuff that I've drawn. And one of the things you said was, I don't know if you can see it this way, is
yeah.
So it's the third eye. Inside of there's 3 faces, and it's interesting because this artwork has been depicted by Alex Gray. And Alex Gray, this is funny how this all ties together, and I love how we're bouncing all over the place, but Alex Gray is the main artist for Tool. And for people that don't know about Tool is arguably one of the best rock bands of all time. But also, they are wizards. They are wizards with sound. They are wizards with art. They are wizards with their own journeys. They've all done some sort of, it seems like, plant medicines and work, and they're raising consciousness. And Tool was introduced to me 25 years ago when I was in high school. And I had no clue. I was singing songs like Prying Open My Third Eye. I was talking about my shadow, like all this stuff that like we know what it means now. But back then I'm just singing along with lyrics. I had no clue what it meant. They did a lot of work through, like, so my company 46 and 2 Wealth Partners is named after 46 and 2, which is Tool's song. And it's their ode to Carl Jung, doing shadow work, evolving as a human, coming from this disharmonious state that we're in and evolving into maybe potentially crystalline beings, right? All this crazy shit. And I was learning about this 25 years ago. That was part of my initiation. And like, now fast forward 25 years later, when I'm on this journey, it's bringing everything full circle to where now I'm being inspired by plant medicine journeys, that I'm seeing things that the artist for Tool has drawn on his plant medicine journeys that I hadn't seen before my journey. So it's crazy. So if you go to Alex Gray on Instagram, he's someone who's been working with plant medicines for decades. And what he's gifted at, outside of just being a tremendous artist, is he goes into the astral, he goes into a plant medicine journey, he brings back what he sees. And for most people, they'd love to be able to do that. Like what you're doing, you're drawing things that you're seeing. And because he's so a master at painting and drawing, he can really, like, almost like a photo, capture that moment to the details of color, which colors are unbelievable, right? And so anyway, so I saw this face on my very first plant medicine journey, which was with psilocybin mushrooms. And I saw it everywhere. And if you've done plant medicines before, sometimes when you have visuals, it seems like there's like if you're looking at the wall, there's like this inlay between the wall where like whatever you're seeing is kind of like between you and the wall. Like it could be, sacred geometry. It could be whatever you're seeing. So I saw these faces everywhere. I had no clue what it was. And it could it be a spiritual deity? Could it be one of my guides? But if you look at his work, he has this same thing everywhere. So it was really interesting. So anyway, so I was so moved by it. It's on my arm. Plus, it looks really cool. So, the ego side of it, right? So outside of that, man, just kind of getting back to my superpower was during this quantum healing ceremony, it was revealed to me what my superpower was. It also ties back to Peru when I was told I was a healer, creator, powerful. So I'm laying down on the ground, no plant medicines in my body, no substance, just laying down on the ground in a very surrendered, open position. We're all on yoga mats. There's 15 of us laying down while Isaac is facilitating this journey. And he's playing songs that have healing tones embedded in the songs, different frequencies. So for people listening to this, like 430 megahertz or hertz, whatever it is, I might be butchering it, is one healing sound, one healing tune. And you can get meditations that have different sounds that do different things. And so in his songs, he had different healing tones that were in there. He also had spoken word from like Alan Watts and Ram Dass. Like he had like this playlist that was like probably an hour long. And I'm laying there, and 30 minutes in, all of a sudden I start completely hysterically bawling, ugly cry. And because I've been doing this type of work for a while, like I'm in full surrender. I don't care who sees me. I don't care who hears me. Like I'm just completely surrendered. And I'm like ugly cry. And the guy next to me puts his hand on my shoulder to comfort me, and I'm just fucking releasing. And all of a sudden, the reason why is because I saw all my life's trauma, the crazy shit that I've seen in my life, flash before my eyes in just a matter of moments. And it was given to me. That's when I saw what my superpower was. So I immediately sat up, lotus position yoga, and my hands, for those who've done breath work before, and you've probably experienced this before too, just breath work alone, your hands get charged up. Your hands, they feel energetic. They feel, you may get like the clenched hands, like, sometimes if you're doing breath work, holotropic breath work, but like there's something going on, physiologically where your hands are getting this energy. I sat up with this energy, the most powerful I've ever felt it from my hands, almost like they were on fire, but in a good way. And I started chanting that chant that I took back from the ayahuasca journey in Peru. And I said, I'm a healer, I'm powerful, I'm creator, healer. And then I started saying love, light, and truth. And I started kind of like doing this chant. And it was almost like I could feel this humming or wave in my heart chakra. And I was like, it was like, I'm getting chills thinking about it. And I sat there and we did this sharing circle, like we did at every ceremony that we did that weekend. And they're like, what came up for you? And I was like, I know what I'm supposed to do with the rest of my life. I know what I'm supposed to do. And I've faced all this trauma and all this shit so that I could learn how to heal from it, so that I could turn around and teach other people how to do the same thing. Yeah. And we're going to take this fucking shit, we're going to give it to the world. We're going to go around to every single person we can talk to, touch, whatever, and we're going to give them, we're going to facilitate healing for them. We're going to be part of their journey. They're going to heal us. We're going to heal them. It's going to be fucking, we're going to save the fucking world. And that's where my superpower came in, was just basically being a healer, being someone who could facilitate these experiences and be a part of that journey.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I think mic drop right there.
Yeah.
How does this work with 46 and 2 Wealth Partners? You're doing a really cool combo. Yeah, man. So what I've learned is part of my mission, my soul's mission, is to raise consciousness and bring love into the world. And so 46 and 2 Wealth Partners is a consciousness awakening business disguised as a wealth management firm. And so when you come in for financial planning or wealth creation, you'll get that. But behind all that, you get everything we just talked about. Yep. So you get conversations like this, which a lot of my clients that come in, they're interested in this type of stuff. Like I'm attracting the type of people, my soul brothers and soul sisters, the people that I want to run with in life are my clients. And so now they're learning about these retreats. They're learning about, have conversations like this that we have on the podcast. I'm just bringing them into this like ecosystem of love, light, and truth. And whether it's financial planning, whether it's the podcast, or whether it's this retreat business, everything is in an effort to just give more love to the world and heal as many people as possible. It's crazy. And they all work symbiotically together. It's incredible. Yeah. That's a very similar realizations that I've had with the journey I'm on right now too. With Safina, the company is, it doesn't have to be spiritual off the bat. Right. My methodology of doing it is my forte is fitness. And I'm like, I don't want to do this, but it's become like, all right, that is a path to get people in through the door. And after in through the door, there's a whole lot more to it. And I love that you're saying it's disguised, that you're using that specifically, that deeply resonates.
It's a Trojan horse, man.
Yeah.
And I pushed my 12 to 12:30. So if you have a little more time, let me know when you get a jump. But so it's what it is, man. It's like, it's taken me, I'm now 39. It's taken me 39 years, really a couple of years ago, but really to fully embody it, 39 years to figure out who I am, how I show up in the world, and what my purpose is on this earth. And I think that's really powerful, because I feel like a lot of people may go their whole life and never know that.
Yep.
And for me, I'm a seeker. I'm a curious explorer. I'm someone who likes to learn and experience things, obviously. Right. And so, in doing that, I've been able to accumulate knowledge, information, and experiences that I can then share with other people, if that makes sense. And whatever modality of being of service, like we've met in Fit for Service, Aubrey's mastermind, but whatever way of being of service, whether that's through fitness, which is part of my journey as well. Like if it's through fitness, if it's through business, if it's through relationships, if it's through spirituality, to me, I've learned that it's all one. Like it's like they don't live on islands from each other. It's the core essence is I, and I am those part of the I, the ego, like the physical does those things. But it's the truth and the conversations that you have while doing those things. I think that's the secret sauce. And so regardless if it's the fitness, if it's the wealth planning, if it's the podcast that either one of us do, these types of conversations that we have with each other that have given us both so much healing and love just in 60 minutes, like we're changing the world by changing us. And so once we heal us, like you're doing your own healing, I'm doing my healing, we heal us, we heal the world. And so jumping kind of forward to my last most recent retreat, which got us on this tangent anyway, was I went to Tulum. Second time there in 8 months. I fucking love that place. I don't care if people are like, oh, I'm over it, whatever. It's just very powerful. It's very powerful.
Yeah.
Very sacred. I don't know if it's a vortex like Sedona, like has a lot of energy there. It's very spiritual.
Sure. Yeah.
It could be. I feel like it might be. For me, it's very sacred. So we went for Lane's in honor of his birthday, celebrate him. So we had people, Steven, that I told you about earlier, he flew in from Hungary with his family. So wife and 2 kids, 4 of them. Ross flew in with his family, wife and 2 kids. So it's 4 of them. Lane and his wife, and then me, I'm the single guy. So there's 11 people. And we're there supporting, loving on Lane, but also have this beautiful experience. And the place we stayed was called Nomad or Nomade, depending on where you're from. And it's this immersive like jungle experience that goes right out into the beach, kind of like all things Tulum. The jungle's right there, but the beach, but it's really, really, really like jungle immersive. I was at a treehouse, so it's very jungle. And so each day there's a different ceremony, as we call it, a different experience, a different session for people to kind of wrap their heads around this. One day was a cacao ceremony. We can get into the details, but it was a cacao ceremony one night. The next night was best way I could describe it was sound healing, where the guy sang us a love song that was the most beautiful song I ever heard in my life. The next night was Sweat Lodge, super powerful. The next night was Orgasmic Bliss, like an energetic lovemaking class, which was fucking awesome. The next day was a DMT Bufo Frog ceremony, like the shit that you hear Mike Tyson or Joe Rogan talking about that changed their lives. Tony Robbins, this is what changed their lives. So powerful. I'll talk about that in a moment. And then we did the despacho, which is that offering back to Pachamama. It's a burn ceremony where you take intentions and love and give it back to the earth, and you call into reality what you're looking for. So it was the perfect trip. It was the perfect journey. I came back like I was already in a great place, I feel like, but I came back even more joyful, more harmonious, more centered, very peaceful. And one thing that you were talking about, the cosmos and astrology, that made me think, and you're talking about stars. This is crazy. This is legit. You can ask Lane or his wife, Allie. So we do our Sweat Lodge, which for people that don't know, they call it Temescal down in, it's like Mayan culture, but it's a sweat lodge. They get really hot lava rocks that won't break when you pour water on them because you don't want exploding rocks in the tent. And so they get these lava rocks that are so hot, and they push them into the middle and they put water on it, and it steams up, and the vapor creates steam in the room, and it gets hot as balls, hotter than a sauna. And it's hot, it's different than a sauna. It's pitch black. I feel like it gets hotter. There's 10 other people in the room with you, so there's that. It's a shared experience, and you get beautiful insights, emotional, mental, spiritual, just gorgeous. And we're in there for almost 2 hours. It felt like hour and a half, 2 hours. We get out. They say the best thing you can do is go to the beach, go to the ocean. So like Lane and I, myself and Allie went down there. We didn't decide to get in the water. We rinsed off on the showers that were up where we were outside. We laid on this beautiful like net that was like 3 feet, 4 feet above the ground. It was like kind of like black strapping that was like 2 inches thick, and it was like interlaced into like little grids, and it was like it could support probably 10 people laying on it, and it was built into the shape of like a teepee with 4 poles coming up into the middle. And so we're laying on it, the 3 of us, looking up at the galaxy, looking up at the cosmos, the stars. And I shit you not, 5 different times we saw shooting stars. We saw 4 that were in. I'll have you talk to Lane, Allie, like this is so crazy. It sounds ridiculous. There was 4 in the sky that were in different places. And we're kind of joking because we're in this like really spiritual place. We're like, are we creating this right now? Like, is something we're manifesting? Are we somehow tapped into a frequency where like we're making this happen?
Yeah.
The 5th one, I've never seen this before. I've seen shooting stars before. Like when I was in high school, there was like this crazy shooting star storm. I think it was like the late 90s, early 2000s. And it was like, I saw dozens. I've seen this before, but I wasn't expecting to see it this night. Number one, the 5th one that we saw, no shit, dude, this is the craziest one I've ever seen in my life. So we're laying down. We've seen 4. We're like, oh, it's great. It's crazy. I can't believe this is happening. The 5th one died out 70 feet above our head. So we're laying down. It's crazy. We're laying down on the net. We're looking up. All 3 of us saw this one because I didn't see every one. I saw 2 or 3 out of the 4, the first 4, because my eyes weren't always fixed on the same spot. So I think Allie saw the most. She saw 3. Lane saw 2. I saw 2, or maybe she saw 4, whatever it was. But we saw the ones from before. Out hundreds of miles away, like not close at all, like however far it was, right? Maybe less than that. This other one comes from the beach, from the water side, like right in front of us, the water. It comes over us, and it's about 60, 70 feet in the air, and it dies out right above us. Never seen anything before like in my life. And I'm like, did that just happen? And all 3 of us saw that one. And like Allie was like, was that a firework? I'm like, A, there wasn't a noise at the end. It wasn't a crack. And B, there's no one out on the water right now shooting fireworks. There's no one on the beach. Like there's no one that shot a firework. So we saw a fucking shooting star die out 70 feet above our head.
What do you make of that?
I don't know. It was just great. It was the universe playing with us. Like I think we were just so like attuned and open and in the right place at the right time that we just saw the universe like put a show on for us, man. It was fucking, I don't put anything into it. I don't know what happened. It could have just been fate, luck, timing, whatever. We could have called it in, whatever, but it happened. That's all I know.
Wow.
Beautiful. But you made me think of it when you're talking about stars and astrology, which is so powerful.
How do you integrate this stuff? Like a conversation like this has been a while since I've had, and I'm so grateful that we're having this conversation. But how do you, many times as business people or trying to make dollars and cents and create and produce, it becomes very head focused, and you're like, no qualms, I'm putting it all out there. This is me. These are all my experiences.
Yep.
And you're a successful entrepreneur. How do you integrate this? Because to most people, even like myself, like, wow, I should do this all the time, but then I get scared.
It started with me forgiving myself for the shit that I either put myself through in my life or had been through that was not of my own doing. So number one, forgiving myself or forgiving everyone. And then also releasing judgment from myself, releasing shame. I grew up with a lot of shame. Back in the day, we used to tag, which is graffiti. We'd go around Boston, like spray painting shit or like writing on labels with magic markers and sticking the labels on shit. Like we were just crazy kids. My tag name was shame. I went around writing shame everywhere in Boston because I was fucking shameful of my life. And going back to 2.5, 3 years ago, when I got introduced to, maybe longer now, David Goggins and Patrick Tucker, and I've told this story a bunch of times. Both were my mentors. One was a virtual mentor that I had never met, David Goggins. The other one was my real mentor, financial planning mentor, Patrick Tucker. And they were both telling me, share your story, share your journey, talk about your truth. Like, as I'm getting into this kind of world. And I was hesitant. I'm like, how can I tell people I used to shoot heroin? How can I tell people I was bullied for years? Like, how can I tell people my dad was a junkie for 30 years? Like, how are people going to look at me?
Right.
But when Goggins taught me to stop giving a fuck about what people thought about when they looked at him, in his book Can't Hurt Me, where he tells all of his skeletons, he's like, now what, bitch? Like, and this is, Goggins is a fucking Buddha to the nth degree, but just in his own way. And we talked about this at the end of my DMT ceremony with the guy that facilitated, how Goggins inspired him too. And this guy's a wizard, man. But Goggins is like the other end of Jesus. If Jesus is like the feminine being embodiment of God, love, light, and truth, Goggins is like the masculine hard charge. Get after it, motherfucker. Stay hard. Yeah. Like but he's inspired so many people.
Yeah.
He's changed my life. And so his message and his story is, you can't hurt me. If I tell you everything that's been screwed up about my life, I take my power back because I love me and his way. And that's what I did. So the first step to all that, to answer your question, like, how do I integrate or how do I talk about this shit so freely, is I stopped giving a fuck. I stopped caring about what people thought. And the most beautiful thing, brother, that fucking happened was everybody started resonating. Like, they started plugging in more. It's like, I know someone who's been through these things, or I myself have been through these things. We have both been through abandonment together. We've both been through loneliness. We've both been through like working our asses off because we didn't want to like pay attention to the emotion inside that we didn't even know existed. That was buried years before, that we fucking find through this therapy that we do. And so everybody is on this journey together. And once they see that you're a real human being and they see that you have wounds that you've learned how to heal, it becomes really attractive for them. And it breaks down walls. It takes away that, like, so the best context I could give is I was in banking for years, and it was all about suits. It was all about being political. It was always about the perceived facade. But when I got into banking, I was rough around the edges. I was like from like the sales company from Boston. I had this swagger about me. Like I was me. And like, it broke down all the walls. And like, I learned that. I was like, oh shit. Okay. And so I started carrying that with me in life, and then added with the Goggins thing, added with the journey that I've had, sharing the story and sharing the message has been giving me healing. And then it's also invited other people to do the same thing. And so it's just been this beautiful way to connect with people on a heart level, a soul level. And it's just become part of sharing my freedom and teaching people freedom and truth through my microphone is speaking about these things.
I'm just going to let that marinate. Yeah, I mean, it's so true. It's, I mean, I wish there were more people out there, just going about life like you are. I mean, you're inspiring the heck out of me. It makes me remember, because a lot of stuff I forget about. Like I'll make a example that's very relevant for me right now. I'm going through a redesign phase of Safina. It went from being very everything black and white, and then a golden, and then it was very much in a hyper masculine state. And now I'm like, no, that's not me. And I'm adding purples and blues and all these different types of colors. I'm like, yeah, let's get this party going. Like I'm resonating, I'm having fun, but it's truly like I can share a message that's true to me, even though that to even changing a logo and everything is it. I don't have a logical explanation from it. It just feels right. Yeah. And it's what you're saying, when you just speak your truth, people are going to resonate regardless of how crazy or obnoxious or whatever it might sound like to you. That's really, I mean, that happened in my first episode of the podcast. That is where I go the deepest, and I'm just vulnerable. And people are like, whoa. And people contact me, and the other shows I haven't heard, their second episode was like that too. But the other ones, they're like, yeah, like I haven't heard anything back. But it's so freaking true. Like one of the things, like qualms that I've had is like plant medicine, psychedelics. I thought this would be a truly healing podcast that'd be kind of polished, and somehow or another plant medicines end up in every single episode. I'm like, all right, I guess I'm a conduit, I'm a messenger of healing arts, no matter how they take place. It doesn't matter what they are or how you heal, as long as you heal, that's what matters. So surrendering to the process and just learning to trust that, okay. And like you said, the mic is my amplifier. That is speak more my truth. That is what's come through several times, is stop thinking about how, just do it.
So powerful. So just do it, like Nike, right? Just do it and just say, fuck it. And it gave me so much freedom and love, and it's brought that much more to infinite amounts and degrees. So I would just say, just keep following that intuition, following that gut. And again, plant medicines, we talked about it a lot this episode, is just one tool of the many. There's kind of talk about really integrating, right? So for me, integrating also includes meditation. It includes journaling, writing shit down, like something comes up for me. It includes having conversations with my brothers like you. And then also, before I jumped on the 4 of the dudes that went to Tulum together, and we were rehashing our experiences together and kind of like remembering the things that have happened. And I'll talk about this last little piece about Tulum that was the most powerful, not the most powerful, but this was the plant medicine journey I did was with DMT. So DMT comes from a toad, comes from a frog, for those that are listening. And you inhale it, you puff it in, you smoke it in. And I'm working with Ezraya, who is an amazing healer himself, amazing shaman. I don't even know if he calls himself that, but he really is. He's powerful. He's a medicine man, and he's a healer. And he's facilitating this experience for me, which the 4 of us were scheduled to go on one day, but my heart was telling me I needed to do this journey on my own. So I actually told the guys I wasn't going that day. I waited, I think it was 2 days, or the next day, and I went by myself. I needed to do like a personal pilgrimage, because I feel like a lot of times when I do plant medicines, there's other people around, and I wanted to have this like one experience that was it was what was calling to me. So I went by myself. I left Nomad. This was on the way up to Chichen Itza, a couple hours away. And before I left too far from Tulum, I go to Bufo Alvarius, where Rogan has been before, and Tyson. They actually have pictures of them, like, hey, they've been here, like, come see us. And for Mike Tyson and Tony Robbins and Rogan, like, they talk about how much this stuff has changed their life. And these are some of the most highly functioning, highly successful people in the world at their craft.
Right.
So this isn't like a junkie thing. This isn't like I'm trying to get high. This is like I'm fucking trying to change the world, and I'm doing this crazy exotic shit to get there. And so I go in for my ceremony, and I had 2 intentions. The first one I said, Ezraya, I'm like, hey, is there anything too big? Is there anything too crazy for an intention? He's like, no. I said, I want to heal the world. Like, that's my intention. I want to heal the world. Secondly, I want to eliminate, lose, remove, whatever the word was. I don't remember what it was, but it was basically get rid of any remaining subconscious blocks that I have, things that I don't know that are still there, that are self-limiting. Because in my mind, how could I heal the world at a large scale if I'm still held down by these things? So it's kind of like a nice polarity. So for DMT, it's immediate. It's you take this inhale, and there's a breath to it. So basically he taught me this. He's like, breathe all the way out as far as you can. And then as soon as you're ready to breathe in slowly for 10 seconds. The other people that have talked about this, like Michael Pollan and Joe Rogan, they talk about doing 3 hits. You do like 3 puffs. I probably couldn't have done 3, because at the end of 10 seconds, I immediately, as I'm getting to, he's counting. So I'm going through it. I'm breathing in the smoke of the Bufo frog. He's like, slow down. And he's counting. He's like 10, 9, or 1, 2, counting up to 10. As soon as I got to 7, that psychedelic vision that you get when you're deep in a ceremony where like shit's, the world's alive, like colors, like it's a whole fucking thing. I was there at 7. Like so when you drop in with mushrooms, or you drop in with ayahuasca, it takes a little bit to get to that point. With this, it was instant. So imagine going from normal perceived reality to super heavy, deep psychedelic reality in less than 10 seconds. You're really shot out of a rocket. It's no question. And so he's like, take it in. He's like, all right, 10. He's like, hold it in. You're doing great. And all of a sudden, dude, I just lay back. And I'm on this like animal skin rug thing that he had, laying down in this fucking teepee, laying down. And it's just, he goes to work. He starts singing his Icaro. So this is what I was thinking about when I was in Peru. He starts singing his Icaro, his song. He's doing this Hawaiian stuff. He's doing these healing songs to me. He's dancing. He's chanting. He's fucking doing his thing, facilitating this beautiful experience. And I'm sitting there, and I'm fucking going through my journey, and I'm going through just everything. And there's 2 things that came up for me. The main insight was, I know the secret. I know the secret on how to heal the world. And this is going to sound so bullshit for so many people that have been listening to this, but the secret is love. The fucking answer is love.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. And I've been getting this same message the last 5 plant medicine journeys I've done over the year. And it's the same message, but now it's becoming crystallized and clear. And it's like, love is the answer. Love is the way.
Right.
But it still didn't answer my question at the time, because a lot of this, like you said, there's integration, there's stuff that needs to play out in reality. So the masculine of the building and the creating hadn't evolved yet, but the feminine, the knowing, the eternal truth is love. And so what does that mean? That means every interaction I have, like with you on this conversation, with people through life, just add love. Fucking add love. And you're gonna have a ripple effect, at least on the micro. You're gonna have a ripple effect where you're changing lives. And the first place I saw this after this journey, the last day I was in Mexico, I was in Cancun before my flight. I was on the beach. I start walking from the beach to go do what I had to do up at the hotel, and I'm just fucking smiling ear to ear. And I can see people's reaction to me, just smiling. One woman stopped in her tracks and looked and smiled back at me. Like, it was so powerful for people. And I'm like, holy shit, like I must be so peaceful and so happy that I was emanating, radiating love just by my beingness.
Yeah.
So now it's a matter of taking that feeling and that knowing and that love and channeling it out to the world through the different things that we can do. But the answer for me has always been the same. My medicine, my tool moving forward, one of the main ones is going to be just being a beacon of love. That's it.
As crazy as it might sound, I can resonate that has happened to me, where I've been in such a state where I'm just smiling ear to ear, and people are like, whoa. And I'm like, whoa, too. Like, I've never experienced this. And it's, how I've experienced this. And this is also, getting together. This is fit for service again. It's when I experienced that, and it actually happened at the one that we were at in what's it called? Southern California, where we were at.
Malibu.
Yeah, that's what it's called. And I started, it was crazy. I have the ability to pick up on, call it empath, call it highly sensitive person. When I'm around other people, I pick up on their energy and their frequency, and I have a very hard time differentiating between what is mine and what is not. So even though by you sharing your experience right now, what you have had, part of me knows by the frequency and how you're sharing that, I have now had that experience to a degree too. Yep. And especially for in person in Malibu, all these incredible people, I have started with no substances at all. On the plane back, I just started having visions. I'm like, this is nuts. Like, I saw, for example, our brother Cal Kingsbury. Like, I saw a bunch of stuff related to him that I won't share here necessarily, but it was relating to a conversation that we had, and it was darkness, and all these visuals started coming up. I'm like, wow. And then when I came out of that flight, I started seeing the geometrical construct behind everything in this world. Like, I saw buildings, and I saw, like, you see, like, I had X-ray vision, and I saw what everyone was just doing was just insecure, and all they longed for was light or love. And I was just smiling. I'm like I'm not high, but I'm like, I'm experienced this at a different, like a different plane of living. Yeah. And I saw through things like I've never seen through things. And then I came home and I saw my wife, and there was and I was just in this incredible state and loving state. And she was like, what's wrong with you? What's going on? I'm like, it's okay. Like, I see it's just your inner small girl who's just sad, and all she's longing for is love. And she got super defensive because I'm never like this. And she's like, who the fuck are you? Like, why? Like, you need to have my permission to start going into my past and who I am and why I react the way I do. But it was just, and then she apologized later because she knew he was just coming from a loving place. But the point of my story is that love, you're right. That's what it's all about. And if we all can just come together and hold less inhibitions and think that we need to be in a certain way, just smile, man. Just laugh.
That's it, dude. It starts with a smile. Like, the smile can change the world because it changes your chemistry. Number one, you start to get oxytocin, you start to feel serotonin, you start to feel good for yourself, and then you start to exude this. And then you start to tap into that God frequency, which part of that, one of the main things is love. Like, being in love with yourself. Like, it doesn't sound weird for me to say it anymore, but if I even said that years ago, it would be like the weirdest thing I ever said, like being in love with myself and like loving myself, like truly loving yourself is one of the best healing things you can do. And a lot of people, it takes time to get there because we're never taught. We have a ton of trauma. We have a lot of lessons to learn, but that love for yourself, and then when you amplify it and give it to the world, it will change the world. And so then it's a matter of the masculine and the doing and the creative side to be able to, okay, how can I set up this podcast? How can I set up this company, retreat company? How can I, amplify my message where I have people go out and they speak the same kind of thing? And so it takes time, man, but I think we're uniquely positioned. This is August 12th, 2021. This episode will come out on either channel, I'd imagine, in a week or two, but we're uniquely positioned with these types of conversations we're having right now to change the world. And the world is, quote unquote, a lot of darkness right now, pandemic, politics, civil rights stuff that still hasn't been changed through the years. But there's so much love and light that's being, like we talked about, fit for service and things that you do and things that I do and everybody that we know collectively, guys like Joe Rogan and Aubrey Marcus, and like there's this drumbeat, we have this thing. It's the Hopi prophecy, the Rainbow Warriors. Have you heard of this before?
No.
So in this Native American belief structure, it's called the Hopi, Hopi prophecy. And it talks about the Rainbow Warriors. The Rainbow Warriors are going to come when the earth is at its worst. And it's going to be people from all over the world. It's going to be light warriors. It's going to be people that are from different backgrounds, socially, economically, different heritages, customs, and we're all going to unite together to bring the earth back to where it needs to be. We are absolutely there right now as a world. And I know that there's so many people that are talking these kinds of conversations. There's so many people that are raising awareness and consciousness and doing the work, that we are uniquely positioned, I believe, in my heart of hearts, that we will triumph. Love will win, So love always wins, man.
Yes, indeed. Amazing, Jesse.
Yeah, brother.
I mean, wow. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. I love you. Thanks for this invitation.
Likewise.
You're like, why don't we record this? We're having a great conversation. I'm like, fuck yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Thank you for that invitation, man.
For sure.
Oh,
yeah.
brother.
Love you too. And wow, have just an amazing day.
Yeah, you too, brother. Love you. Love you back.
Jesse's just a phenomenal, deep person who's asking the big questions and understanding what is he here to do. And being around a person like that, I mean, it elevates me. It makes me vibrate at a whole nother level. I'm so grateful for Jesse, and I'm so thankful that you tuned in today to listen. And I'm sending you so much love. And if you haven't done so far, please leave a 5-star review or a subscribe or a like, whatever it is. I highly appreciate it. This helps us spread the message, a healing message, to other people. So thank you for listening in and sharing your feedback.